Hello my darlings, in today's video I'm going to be giving you a quick recap of Celebrity Big Brother episode 7. I am dropping daily quick recaps of this whole season, so if that sounds like something that you're interested in, click the subscribe button down below so you don't miss out on any upcoming videos. And without further ado, let's just get into it. So, before we get into today's video, I have to apologise. It appears that I have missed an episode, so I had no idea Big Brother was airing on Sunday night. So, I missed last night's episode. I will try and do a quick recap of it tomorrow maybe, but let's just get into tonight's episode. Evictions have come around again, and each time it seems like it's getting harder and harder for the housemates. They're getting emotional about it. Before we dive into the nominations, I just want to chat about this scene between Colton and Sharon. They were basically talking about weight loss. He was saying that a few years ago he lost quite a lot of weight, dieting, traditional dieting. And after losing the weight, he basically had issues sustaining it and would basically starve himself, and then after starving himself like days or 1.5 days, he would then go on a massive binge and then repeat the cycle, to which Sharon said she could completely identify with this. And also, if I'm completely honest, my darlings, I completely identify with this as well. So Sharon didn't mention how much weight she had lost, but she said she used to be 230 pounds, which is, for my UK listeners, roughly 16.5 stones. So obviously, without knowing what her current weight is, you can tell that she's lost a lot of weight. Thought that was interesting. Anyway, let's get on to the nominations. First of all, as Sharon is the guest lodger, she was exempt again from voting. However, Big Brother said that she would secretly watch everyone's nominations in her room. So she basically made up an excuse to the other housemates that she was going to go and get a shower, being as though she wasn't able to vote, and just go and chill in her room whilst everybody else took part in the voting. First up in the diary room was MARISHA, and her first vote was Lauren. And basically she said that she couldn't trust her after Lauren broke the rules. She just couldn't trust her, and she knows that Lauren talks about people behind their backs, and she doesn't really want to live in a house with people where she can't trust them and doesn't trust that they're not speaking about her. And her second nomination was Louis. She said that she didn't like how he spoke about Zeze, which I didn't like that myself, as mentioned in the previous recaps. Basically that Louis provoked Zeze to have to defend herself in a way that she probably didn't even really want to show on television. So basically pulled her out of a box. And I thought that was very fair. Next in was EKIN-SU. And EKIN-SU's first nomination was David. And basically she called him selfish and said that he doesn't really care about anybody. He interrupts conversations meaninglessly. And if it's a sad moment, he just doesn't care. So I don't feel like he's showing much empathy. Although I haven't really seen much evidence of what she's saying, it's not hard for me to imagine that he's kind of like that. We have seen him be the life and soul of the party, but I haven't really seen any other textures or any other variants of him, if that makes sense. Anyway, her second nomination was Zeze. And basically she was saying whenever she has a conversation with Zeze, she feels like she's got her guard up. She's always on the attack, and that she, as in EKIN-SU, was basically that person once upon a time. And she thinks that arguing or this combative nature is Zeze's coping mechanism. then again, why are you comparing yourself all the time? Like, I feel like every time she makes a comment, especially about Zeze, she always has to compare herself. So that's making me think, does she see Zeze as her biggest competition? I don't know. Just an observation. Anyway, then next up we had Lauren in the diary room, and her first nomination was Zeze, and she basically said after Orangegate, Zeze never made any effort with her, which I found is quite strange, to be honest with you, because my question is, did you make any effort with Zeze? You know, because it's a two-way street, Lauren. She also said, which again was really weird, even though I'm a reality TV star, Zeze never asked about the jobs. As well as doing reality TV, I've got a homeware line, I do candles, I do diffusers. She's never asked about me, she just doesn't give a shit. I feel like at this point, Lauren is really self-indulgent. Really self-indulgent. What a pathetic response. Her second nomination was David, and she basically said that he's an attention seeker and a drama queen. And I think she's over him. Next in was Nikita, and Nikita's first nomination was Lauren, and he basically said he doesn't really like drama, and Lauren brings a lot of drama. He doesn't like the fact that she used the word hate, used such a strong word for such a trivial situation, and that kind of upset him. I'm feeling like he is definitely team Zeze. His second nomination was Fearne, and he also voted for Fearne last time. And it's basically because he feels like she's isolating herself from the group, and she's kind of keeping herself to herself when in such a game everybody needs to stick together, and he doesn't feel like she's sticking with them. So that was that. Next up we had Levi, and Levi's first nomination was Zeze, and the reason he chose Zeze is because he said when Lauren attempted to apologise to Zeze, she didn't accept the apology, and he felt that Lauren was being sincere in her efforts when she was apologising to Zeze, and Zeze was being quite insensitive for not accepting the apology there and then. And he was saying that he feels like at the end of the day forgiveness is very important. And I thought to myself, I feel like you're a fine one to talk, Levi, because it seems like you've got some forgiving to do yourself in regards to your children by the sounds of things. So I weren't really buying that, to be honest with you, because I feel like, again, at the time when Zeze didn't accept Lauren's apology, she actually questioned Lauren. She said, Lauren, why are you apologising? Are you apologising because you're trying to pacify the group, or are you apologising because you're sorry for what you've done to me? And Lauren actually said, I just don't want to upset the group any further. So I feel like Zeze was quite fair then to not accept that apology, because she wasn't apologising to her. So I'm not quite sure I understand that. Anyway, and then his second nomination was Lauren, and he basically said that she was wrong to have broken the rules and it was unfair on everybody else. So I don't know. I'm not quite sure about him. I'm not quite sure about Levi. Anyway, moving on. Next in the diary room was Louis, and his first nomination was Zeze, and reasons were they're not compatible. They don't have a lot in common, and she's just not for him, which is fine. And then I feel like we can see that. And then his second nomination was Fearne, and oh my God, he basically said in regards to Fearne, the others deserve to be there. She doesn't deserve to be there. She's like wallpaper. She ain't doing anything. She's just there. And that was that. And then we had Bradley. And Bradley's first nomination was Louis. And again, same issue. The fact that Louis is not pulling his weight. And then his second nomination was again Lauren. And basically he's saying, they've not had a meaningful conversation, or when they do seemingly get on to having a conversation, the conversation abruptly comes to an end when she sees that there's somebody else that she would rather speak to. That's a bit sad to hear, that a lot of these younger people are seeing her in this way. She's coming off as quite a selfish person. Then we had Colson, and sadly his first nomination was also Lauren, and again back to this, hadn't learnt his name properly. And he said that she started a whole thing around the house with the name, and I'm not quite sure what he means by that. I have to look into that a bit more. And again, he said as a result of her not knowing his name, or not bothering to get to know his name or him, they've not had a real conversation either. So it's not really looking good for her. And then his second nomination was Louis. And basically that Louis not pulling his weight in the house in terms of housework and cooking, and also during any tasks. He said that Louis fell asleep during the task yesterday. He said that basically nobody's pulling him up or calling him out for what he's doing because of who he is. I feel like he feels the hierarchy that's going on, and I'm really quite glad that he's pointing that out. Moving on to Fearne. Fearne's first nomination was EKIN-SU again, and she says that she's feeling a strange vibe from EKIN-SU, that they're just not on the same wavelength, and EKIN-SU makes her feel uncomfortable, and she never knows from one day to another how she's going to make her feel. And I really wish that Fearne would elaborate a bit more. I want to hear a bit more about this, because we're not exactly seeing this all the time, so I kind of want to know what the hell's going on there. Her second nomination was Lauren. Now this is really funny. So the reason she voted for Lauren is because Lauren basically said to her, Fearne, have you got some washing to do tomorrow? And Fearne was basically like, yeah, I've got a few darks to do and some underwear, right? So quick backtrack. Earlier on in the day, I think it was in the morning, they were getting their washing out, or sorting out their washing, and Fearne was like, oh, I've got my undies to wash, and I think, yeah, Fearne was like, oh, I've got my undies to wash. This is so the reason Fearne voted for Lauren is because Lauren basically said to her, Fearne, have you got washing to do? And Fearne was like, yeah, I've got some washing to do tomorrow morning, I'll just finish it all off. Lauren turned up in the morning and handed her washing over to Fearne for Fearne to do her washing. When Fearne didn't volunteer to do Lauren's washing, she was like, what the? Oh yeah, and during the whole washing conversation, Fearne announced that this is the one thing she did share, she announced that she likes to walk around commando and does it whilst wearing jeans, to which Zeze was like, oh, I really can't see how you go commando whilst wearing jeans, that's got to be a bit painful. And then she went on to say, well, it's all right because I'm dry down there. Anyway, TMI, moving on. So, this is Sabrina of the future. So, quick correction. Actually, she said that her kids tease her about going commando whilst wearing jeans. And then they teased her about the fact that it doesn't quite matter because she's dry down there anyway. So there you have it. Next up in the diary room was David, and his first nomination was again Lauren, and his justification was she talks about people behind their back, and he can basically feel the vibes. He feels like he's noticed her talking about him. When he walks by, she'll literally get quiet and start whispering. Mean girl vibes, basically. And again, that's not nice. It's not a good look for Lauren. These comments aren't a very good look for her. Like, she seems so childish. His second nomination was for Levi, and basically he's saying that he tried to get to know him, but when they speak, it's a bit of a one-way street. Levi doesn't kind of ask him anything about himself. Finally was Zeze. And Zeze's first nomination was Lauren, and since Orange Gate, they talk briefly, but she just sees Lauren as a colleague. She's definitely not somebody she'll speak to outside of the house, and she always feels like they're 3 to 5 words away from arguing. That was that. And then her second nomination was Louis, and reason being is because he likes to talk about people as well, and she's basically wary of people like that. So at the end of the nominations, it turns out that Lauren had 8 votes, Louis and Zeze had 4 each, Fearne and David had 2 each, and Levi and EKIN-SU had 1 each, and the rest of them had none. Big Brother then called everybody back and revealed that Sharon had been watching everybody's votes the whole time. Everyone looked shocked. And Big Brother announced Lauren, Louis and Zeze as the housemates that received the most votes. And then the plot twist came. Big Brother then announced that Sharon could save a housemate from public eviction. And Lauren piped up with, she bets it will be Louis. And I just thought, Lauren, can you just keep quiet for once, babe? Please, just keep quiet. Actually, Sharon chose Zeze, and Zeze looked genuinely shocked. She was like, oh, thank you. I feel like it's the first time she was a bit lost for words. Sharon basically said, Lauren's been here before and she can handle this, she's a big girl. And then she said the public will save Louis, and she chose to save Zeze because although she's ballsy and very outspoken, she's very vulnerable, and she reminds her of somebody, which I'll get into a bit later. Big Brother then said that Sharon had to choose another housemate to replace the person that she just saved. And I must say, at this point now, Sharon did start to look a bit pained in performing this task. But she did choose Fearne, and the rationale that she gave is that Fearne is an older lady and she sticks out. I basically feel like what she's getting at is some group dynamics. You've got the younger ones and you've got the older ones, and the dynamics are pretty much set. And I feel like Fearne isn't fitting anywhere between any of those dynamics. She's too old to be a real part of the young gang, and for some reason she's just not really clicking or bothering with the older gang. And I can see that, and I feel like that's a very fair observation. I feel like one thing about Sharon's observations and her choices, I feel like they have been quite fair, you know? She also said that the public will save Fearne. Fearne looked sad. Everybody was kind of consoling Fearne. So, facing public eviction now is, I can confirm, Lauren, Louis and Fearne. Oh yeah, and I'm laughing because Louis had the cheek to say to Sharon, you couldn't have saved me because it would have looked too obvious. Honestly, this guy. He then went on to say, mainly to Lauren, some people don't want me here. We were too friendly, you know. Meaning him and Lauren were too friendly and did too much bitching together, and he thinks because of that everyone's associated him with Lauren, or rather is tarring him now with the same brush. And Lauren was like, so it's my fault, through tears, you know. And he was like, yeah. And I thought, what a bitch, what a bitchy move. One thing Louis is going to do is throw you under the bus to save himself. The superiority complex this guy has is something else. I want to speak about Fearne quickly. I feel like we're not getting anything from her. Just these unusual outbursts of emotions. What is her story? She was tearful in the diary room before the nominations. Big Brother wished her a happy Mother's Day, and she said she was thinking about her mom and her kids. So that's understandable, as she probably misses them. And then after the nominations, she went into the diary room again. It kind of is what it is that she's been nominated. Either way, however it goes, she's had one of the best experiences of her life. And I thought, really? Have you had one of the best experiences of your life? Because Fearne doesn't seem to be totally okay. I feel like something is wrong. And interestingly, Sharon and Louis were having a conversation later on. And Sharon was saying she feels bad about voting Fearne out. And again, Louis was bitching. And he was basically like, no love lost, because she knows she knows the game she's playing. And Sharon was like, I can tell Fearne has been hurt a lot in her life. And Louis said, oh yeah, by men. And I thought, I want to know what that's all about. What is Fearne's story? So I know that she's single. We know that she was with Philip Schofield. They were in a long-term relationship. I want to know what her story is. Anyway, before we finish up, Sharon and Zeze had a really lovely moment. So in the diary room, Zeze said she was just literally shocked that Sharon saved her. And you could see that she was shocked. And she felt that Sharon described her to a T. And she got a bit tearful in the diary room, and she was saying ultimately she doesn't always want to be this hard, combative character. But as a black woman, she feels like she has to be strong and she has to have thick skin in this society. After that, Zeze thanked Sharon for saving her, and they had a bit of a moment. They hugged, and Zeze said, you know what, Sharon, all of the things you said about me are definitely true. That is me. And Sharon kind of gave her some advice, basically, and she was like, look, keep your inquisitive, spicy nature, but learn to control it and don't lose your temper. The more you're in control of the situation, basically, the further you go. They didn't actually show this part, but in the Big Brother live scenes, they aired the full conversation, and her and Sharon continued to speak for a much longer period. And Sharon was like, do you know what, Zeze? Ultimately, you remind me of my daughter. You're a firecracker and she's a firecracker, and you really remind me of her. And I do feel like Sharon genuinely respects Zeze, and I could see that she had some endearment for her, especially after their first conversation when Zeze kind of explained who she is and what she's achieved. Before this episode gets any longer, I'm going to conclude it right there. Up for eviction is Fearne, Lauren and Louis. Let me know in the comments down below who you think will be going home. My money is on Lauren, to be honest. Even though Louis is problematic, I think he's bringing in the ratings for the show. I've spoken about this man so much. I do feel like the public will save him. And I feel like the public will want to know more about Fearne. I do anyway. So I feel like they will save her. And I just feel like they've had enough of Lauren now. She's a bit of a nasty character, and she isn't really bringing anything apart from mean girl vibes. So that's my predictions. As always, my darlings, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to my channel for daily Big Brother tea, and I'll catch you in the next one. Mwah.